Good morning. I'm interviewing Kathy Jackson today. She is a trauma informed coach and an emotional resilience advocate. Kathy, welcome.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here and to share myself and my work with the community.
Yes, thank you.
So, a little bit about me. I've spent a lot of my life in codependent, narcissistic type arrangement relationships, and I've learned a lot. I've been on a healing journey myself for a good long time, probably about 15 years or so. And I've learned that there is a way to heal, and we don't have to stay stuck in patterns.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to stay codependent. We don't have to stay in abusive situations. So I've learned how to, heal and get out of that dynamic. And
Mm-hmm.
I am on a mission to help others to do the same, to heal from limiting circumstances and beliefs. So I do coaching sessions, and I will help people see where they're limiting their beliefs. And I also have techniques that I use to unravel and clear energy
Mm-hmm.
back to its source point, wherever it
Yeah,
happened.
okay.
So back to childhood, and that's where it originates, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I can follow those patterns. I've kind of lived through a lot of those patterns myself, so I can have that depth of empathy and compassion for people because I've walked
Right.
through it myself.
Yes. So, do you mind if I ask some questions?
Sure.
Okay, my first question is your journey to becoming a trauma informed coach is deeply personal. Can you share a pivotal moment in your healing process that shaped your approach to helping others?
Well, I think the most, I mean, I've gone through several awakenings or dark nights of the soul type situations, but the most recent was probably the most pivotal, which was my daughter, who is, a mature, she's an adult and she has three kids of her own,
Mhm.
um, came to me and basically accused me of being a narcissist. And I was like, a narcissist? That doesn't seem to fit. I'm, I'm the codependent, not the narcissist. Anyways, so I thought, like most people, oh, narcissist, what does that mean? Just a selfish person, And so I started doing the research, and
Mhm.
it was very eye-opening. I was like, oh my gosh, there's way more to this than I thought.
Right.
And as I'm researching it, there's a spectrum of narcissism, of course, like in anything, you can have covert to overt to everything in between. And so as I'm doing the research, I was like, well, actually, this sounds like her. I was
Oh,
like, oh my
wow.
gosh, that's what's been going on all these years.
Mhm.
I didn't recognize it as that kind of a pattern. And the manipulation, the gaslighting, the projecting, I mean, it was very obvious to me what was going
Mhm.
on. And so I had to come to an awareness that um, that was no longer a healthy dynamic for me to be in.
Mhm.
And in order to really transform and transmute that energy and move out of that dynamic, I needed to remove myself from her.
Right.
She thought she was removing herself from me, but I was removing myself from her at the same time, basically, um, in order to heal, and for both of us, really, you know.
Right.
Um, but for me, particular, I had to then focus and look at what what was going on inside of me, because whatever's coming in front of you is a reflection of yourself, you
Right.
know. So I had to go through, you know, the deep transformative process of healing
Hmm.
codependency. And that was big, you know. And so now that I look back and I've seen this dynamic, and it was very, very painful.
Hmm.
The you know, the discarding and the devaluing and all of that was very, very painful to me. Um, and that had been going on for a good, you know, probably 20 years. And
Oh,
so I feel like if I could help even one other person to not suffer that long, that would be
right.
a really wonderful thing to do. Because I really didn't know what was going on. I thought it was my in particular her situation. She couldn't forgive me or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's my mission now to really step out into the world and share what I know and how I can help people to move through it with more awareness and more tools, and just shorten that time frame so that they don't
Right.
have to suffer for so long. Yeah. So that was the pivotal moment.
Um, Now, many people struggle with setting emotional and energetic boundaries, especially after experiencing trauma. What practical steps do you recommend for someone who's just starting this process?
Well, first thing to recognize is that it is a process. And just starting to come into that awareness and asking the questions, how do I deal with, how do I move through this process, is a great way to start. And I would have people um, start noticing how they feel in certain situations. Like typically when you're in abusive situations, you tend to numb out, you tend to, you know, like shut down. And
Right.
so to just start recognizing, noticing how you're feeling in any situation. If it's an abusive situation, a lot of times you're not able to verbalize what you really want. But you can show it by your actions. So let's say someone is used to talking down to you or
Hmm.
dismissing you, or, you know, just really discounting you. You can set a boundary by saying, I can no longer listen to you if you cannot respect me. Like if you cannot talk to me in a respectful manner,
Hmm.
I will be leaving this situation, you
Hmm.
know. Now, in order to do that, you really have to have confidence. And so
True.
a lot of times people who are abused don't have that kind of confidence. So that
Yeah.
has to be built up. That has
Mhm.
to be built up. And so, but even in little situations, anytime, you know, somebody asks you to do something or whatever, and if they're constantly after you and drawing on your energy, you can set a boundary and say, hey, I'm not available for this right now, or no, that's
Mhm.
not going to work for me. You know, just certain
Right.
situations, just standing up for yourself. But you have to take the time to tune in to what you're actually feeling in each moment.
Mhm.
And so my best recommendation is to step back, take a few moments to check in, see what you're feeling
Mhm.
before you respond.
True.
And that's, you know, easier said than done,
Yes.
especially
Yes.
in volatile situations. It can be a
Yes.
little tricky. Um, Yeah. I mean, there's ways of negotiating while you're in the situation, but ultimately, if you are
Hmm.
in an abusive situation, you need to make plans to remove yourself as quickly as possible, because that's the only way that you're going to truly be able to heal. You
Hmm.
can't heal in high stress abusive situations.
Right. Hmm.
Impossible. Impossible. So those are some of my ideas of how to, you know, just tune in,
Hmm.
try to stand up, speak up for yourself, which, yeah, it takes time to get to that point.
Yes. Now, my third question is inner child work is a powerful tool for healing. How can someone begin reconnecting with their inner child in a way that feels safe and empowering?
Well, that's a very loaded subject. So, you know, that's where our inner child is where all of the wounding that occurred happened in childhood. Now, it can be as little as, you know, dad looked at you with a stern look on his face and you felt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, bad or whatever. So, I mean, or to ultimate, you know, abuse. There's a spectrum. But we all have some childhood wounding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it will show up in our current relationships. And so that's where we have to start noticing how are we actually feeling, and then acknowledge those feelings and then follow those feelings back to what happened as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's all about the unmet needs of the child, and so we then seek those unmet needs in outside, you know, in other relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But when we recognize our feelings around a situation, let's say we're triggered, triggering is always an indicator that there was an
Right.
unmet need or a childhood wound. And so when we get triggered, that's a sign that something needs addressed to be addressed. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we find that area, if we can take some time by ourselves and just feel those feelings, give ourselves compassion,
Mm-hmm.
and reassure your inner child that it is safe. You are an adult now and you will protect her.
Mm-hmm.
That takes time to get to that
Yes.
space, you know, to tune into those, to be able to, to sit with those emotions is very, very courageous. It's something that you need courage to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps when you have someone that can facilitate that and hold that space
Right.
for you
Mm-hmm.
and help you walk through those emotions. And that's what I offer to clients is to have that safe space where they can be seen and heard, which
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of times what we didn't get as a child.
That's
Um,
true.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, especially in my day, it was, you know, children should be seen, not heard.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we never really developed that voice of speaking up for ourselves and actually asking for what we need, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because if we did, we'd get slapped or hit or you know, told to be quiet or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of suppression in the voice.
Right.
And so coming back to those, that inner knowing of what you need, first you got to get in touch with what you need again, and
Mm-hmm.
then have to get to that confidence level of being able to express it. But all of this is very much doable. It is very empowering to step into this
Mm-hmm.
process, but it does not happen overnight.
Right.
It is a process, and it helps when you have someone that's, you know, holding space for you during that process.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So, Kathy, if someone wanted to work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
They can find me on Facebook, and my Facebook page is Kathy Jackson Self Empowerment Coach. And they can message me there. I can leave my underneath the video here. I could leave my email address if they want to contact
Mm-hmm.
me that way. Um, but typically through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And we can set up a time to have a discovery call, 20, 30 minute, you know, time to sit and chat and see if it's a good fit for both
Mm-hmm.
of us. And yeah, we can go from there. My
Mm-hmm.
sessions are typically an hour long.
Okay.
Um, and there I can get a lot accomplished in an hour.
Now, do
I
you
can,
have programs or it's just one-on-ones?
so far it's just one-on-one. I haven't
Okay.
developed a program. Yeah, I don't yeah, it's just one-on-one for now.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, I would have you kind of highlight the three main areas that you are struggling with, and then we'll focus on those areas and kind of
Mm-hmm.
unravel them back to the origination point.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking time with me. This is very interesting.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it. And
You're
yeah, I look
welcome.
forward to seeing the video and sharing it with everybody.
Yes. And I wanted everybody to know Kathy's going to be a part of the Empowerment Summit. The summit I'm throwing in my group May 19th through the 23rd. So you'll
Awesome.
have
I'm
to watch
excited.
for her too there.
Thank you, Michelle. That's
Y-
going to be awesome.
You're welcome.